All right, welcome to the webinar. So we're going to be going through this and going through the with Dr. Owings here. Hey Frank, thanks for turning your camera on. Kevin, that was great having your camera on there. If you can turn it back on for me, that would be, thank you very much. Mark, Curtis, we very much love the interaction. And as we do this, we want to make it kind of a bit more of a chat and want to make sure that you guys can ask questions and go through different things as we get that done. So if everybody can turn their cameras on, that would be great. As much as possible. I'm going to turn over to Dr. Gary. Also make sure you've got your chat function on there so you can ask a question in there as you go along, or you can go ahead and just raise your hand by pressing that button, or just unmute yourself if you as we go along there. But Dr. Robin has been with us for since about 6 or 7 years now. Is that right?
Since November 2018.
Okay, almost going on 7 years. Great. Well, thanks for sharing with us today. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Gary and Robin.
Awesome. Thanks, Quentin. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Gary Rademacher with the Business Academy, and we love to interview and talk with our clients. And so if you've been on here in the past, man, I always learn something when I do these interviews. And, definitely we want to open it up for some Q&A with Dr. Owings at the end of this. But for the first 30, 40 minutes here, I'll direct some questions so you can kind of see her journey and what she's done and what she's overcome. And so, first off, Dr. Robin, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So, the amazing thing, Robin, is I would say that you're probably one of the most inspiring doctors in our group from the standpoint that, man, you do not give up, and you have had trials and tribulations in your life that would have really sunk a lot of people, frankly. And I'm not going to get into specifics. You can share those if you'd like to here and there, but you've gone through a lot and you've always bounced back, and one of the strongest people I know. And so thank you for joining us. And I just want to start off like, listen, you've doubled your practice. You have $1 million practice with everything that you've done with us. But, talk to us a little bit about how were things before joining the Business Academy for you?
Well, I was new to owning my practice. I had been an associate with a high volume practice for 8 years. And then I did have something tragic happen in my life that gave me some money for me to purchase my own practice. And so I took a lot of the tools from my previous practice that was high volume and implemented those. So I was able to get off the ground. Okay. And as I was able to, for a couple of years, I bought it in May 2015, joined you guys in 18. And so I was able to grow that practice from collections around 250 a year up to around 500 a year. So, I mean, I did okay in those first, couple of years of owning my own practice. But I didn't know what I didn't know. So that's when, I guess it was Austin at the time had contacted me because two of it's a husband and wife team that I associated with when we were at the high volume practices, they had joined you guys and they were getting success. And I think it was Quentin doing what Quentin does. You get referrals, and you guys called me, and I also had another person that I went to school with that was with you guys, and got some advice from him, and they told me, look, jump on it. What do you have to lose? Just try it for your first year. What do you have to lose? And so that's when I joined, and I did my first, I guess, weekend with you guys in Atlanta in 2018. But I had already took off the next week to do the 15 Cures course. So I took my time off, but I had I had an associate doctor, but he was only seeing his patients. He wasn't seeing mine. So I had to make sure that I had my patients secure. before I could take that time off of work at that point.
Yeah, yeah, you jumped in. It's interesting. When I first joined, I came out for 10 days of training. This was back in 2005. But when you decided to join, which I believe it was a guarantee, right? We guaranteed like, hey, like if you don't grow your practice, if you don't double, your what you paid for for the training, we keep coaching, and that's actually still a guarantee that we do to this day. Like if someone joins us and they don't at least make double their money from the training than what they spent in the training, they will keep coaching. And I don't think we've ever, Quentin, I don't think we've ever actually had to work. I think maybe one person, maybe in 20 years, that we've had to work with someone beyond that year. But most people increase by six digits, their first year. But what, I guess, what was it besides that? Like you had some people that referred you, but was there anything in particular that you were struggling with that you were like, that like convinced you, like, I'm going to try this business academy out and just and see how it helps me? What were you struggling with at that time?
Well, I didn't really know what I was struggling with at that time. All I knew is I was, it was patient volume and collections and just rising my practice up. That's what motivated me. And I knew that from my friends saying, hey, this has helped grow our practice. And I'm like, well, that's what I want. I want that growth. And so,
Mm,
and again, at that point, I didn't know what I didn't know until you guys
mhm.
trained me on it.
Got it. That totally makes sense. And that's actually a common thing. Most of us get out of school like hundreds of $1,000s in debt. We've learned how to be a clinician. We've learned how to take care of patients, but very few of us have any business, sense. We didn't learn any business, right? So we don't know what we don't know. So that's really well said, because I was the same way. I didn't know what I didn't know. And for those of you who are on here, if you do have questions as we're going on here, go ahead and you can use the chat box. And also just to let you know that as being a part of this, you do have a free strategic planning meeting with Quentin. All you got to do is Teresa will have a link. You can schedule a strategic planning call with Quentin. We do that complimentary, so you can actually go over with Quentin, like, what are things that you're running into, and what would you like to get some help with, and he'll sit down and talk with you and see if this is a good fit for you. But moving forward, then, so let's talk about you joined the Business Academy. Talk to me about like the first aha moment for you. Like, what was it that when you joined it, you're like, okay, this is interesting. This is it. Because you actually, when you joined, you quickly like purchased an in-office delivery, and maybe talk about that for just a second, please.
Well, that was I was sitting on the front row, and Atlanta that year was packed. Um, and there was an office that got up that went through their experience with doing an in-office delivery. And Ethan at that point was kind of kneeled down beside me, getting on the front row. When I looked over, I was like, what's an in-office delivery? And so he stopped them for a second to go explain that for those of us in there that didn't know what that meant. And when I was like, I need one of those immediately. And so y'all were booked at that point until March. So that was from November until March before I got the in-office delivery. So in between that time, I came and took 2 courses. I took the Overcoming Stress, and I took Management Basics, which you guys told me to do that before the in-office delivery, because that's a lot of the things that we go over in the in-office delivery. So that gave me the time to, come to Florida for those trainings. One in January, one in February, and we had the in-office delivery in March. But
Oh,
again, I
wow.
came in December, because there was the next seminar was in California, and I have family in California, so I was like, why do I not go? And I can, come to the next seminar
Mhm.
and see family. And it was around Christmas time, so it just all worked out the way it was laid out for me in my process to go from that November until March.
Wow. And what was the I know Ethan jumped into your office for, I believe it's 7 days.
No,
And
Ethan came for my second in-office delivery, because I've had 2 now, because that's how beneficial
ah,
they are.
got
So
it.
my first in-office delivery was Catherine. That's Yeah, and she was
Okay.
just there to do in-office deliveries. I don't think she was
Yeah,
ever employed by TVA, but
got it. So when Ethan actually went, what were the aha moments for you, for your team? Because he pretty much goes in there and gets you up and going pretty quickly on a lot of our concepts.
Well, there was aha moments in both, and if we can start with the first one, and it was the managing by statistics. You know,
Mhm.
those were something that's, I came back with all this information and I'm bringing all this new stuff to the office, and it can be a little overwhelming for your staff that's used to working in a certain way in a certain area. And you're coming in and you're changing it, and they want to know why you're changing it. Like what
Mhm.
was the benefit, and some of the stuff that I'm still learning as well. And so when it's kind of like parenting, when you can tell your child one thing and they just hard-headed, but when Aunt Myra comes in and says it to them, they're like, oh, okay. So that's kind of like everything that was presented was aha, but it was like they were finally understanding why I'm changing stuff, how it's going to
Mhm.
benefit us, how it's going to make their job easier, and how it's going to help everybody grow together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Management by statistics is probably one of my favorite courses. And before I joined the Business Academy, I wasn't keeping any statistics hardly at all. How were you before you started? Did you use statistics at all in managing your practice?
No,
No.
we had our numbers each day. We had our or each day and each week, and we had our collections,
Hmm.
but we didn't graph it. We didn't see, our trajectory. We didn't have our meetings like that. That was the thing. We had like a little morning meeting. We would go over new patients and ROFs, but to really sit down, and that's what we do now, how it's structured is we have a 30-minute huddle in the morning and a 15-minute huddle in the afternoon.
Hmm.
And our 30-minute huddle is designed to go over the stats from the previous day, see where everybody
Hmm.
is. And if somebody is below stat, we figure out a way to help them as a team. And if somebody's up stat, we're praising, doing giving all the good energy. Um, and our afternoon, and then we go over our new patients, we go over our re-exams, we go over our ROFs, we go over any patient that needs to be just talked about or discussed. And then in the afternoon, our huddle is designed just to go over that because we don't have to go over the stats. So that's why there's a 30-minute and a 15-minute. And then we have
Wow.
an hour or a 45-minute meeting once a week
Wow.
on Mondays.
Yeah, that's so let's go back just a second. Like what are some statistics that you track now that you didn't track before, and how do you feel like that's benefited you?
Well, tracking before was new patients and percents, ROFs and percent starts in our collections. Now we're doing all that still, but we're also we have somebody over reviews, we have somebody over referrals, we have somebody over our success stories. So it's just getting more patient interaction and making sure that if that's your stat, that you are out there, asking you shall receive. So it's just, holding the person who's over that stat, their accountability to be out there and putting that outflow out there. Outflow equals inflow.
Hmm.
And so that's those are things that we implemented. We did Invisarid for a little bit. It kind of fell off. So that was one of our stats for that.
Hmm.
We stat our dry needling because that's what helped us grow the dry needling practice on that. And Dr.
Hmm.
Megan didn't really have a stat other than like patients seen, but that's kind of the whole office. And so like she wanted a stat, and so we gave her a stat. And it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's want stats, they want a purpose.
Mhm. Yeah, have you noticed how, like, by monitoring statistics, you're able to direct your team a little bit better, and it gives them a target, and they know what their job duties are, and they know what they're supposed to hit. And I guess how has that made it easier for you to manage your office?
Okay, well, one is great, and Dana has taken over that, but before Dana's my office manager. Um, it was just something. It's like it's an easy thing to see, see where you're going, where you are, where you're going, how we need to get there, and how we can discuss it as a team on what we're going to do together to do that.
Hmm.
Now with Dana pushing that in the office, when I'm out of the office, I get email. I get an email every night. Check my email, has all of our stats for that day. It's
Hmm.
just one sheet of paper, and I can see everything laid out. What the
Hmm.
collections were, who was seeing, all the things that are in the stats. They give me a printout of the next day's schedule. They give me a printout of what came in for like PI collections or what came in through insurance. So I get all that in the packet, but on the top sheet, it's got everything laid out.
Yeah. Hey, Robin, have you found it easier to make decisions and based on looking at those numbers daily? Like when you see those numbers, do you feel like you have a better idea of what you need to work on and what you're going to do the next day?
Yeah, absolutely. And it also helps to communicate better because, I might have this rock star employee who's down stat, and it's a way to come in and be like, Brandy, I see you've been doing great. You've been hitting these numbers like no other. What happened last week? And so
Mhm.
it's able to make that communication a little bit better because that you do have the stats to see how well they have been doing prior or how well they haven't been producing. And then
Mhm.
you can lay it out. So it's not like you punishing them and saying you need to do this and you need to do that. It's like this is your stat. This is how we can help you. What do we need to do to help you? Or how,
Yeah.
what can we do?
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, the interesting thing is like when we talk to different providers, um, a lot of times people say the same thing. Like when we ask, like, what do you want to get out of your practice? Like, what are your goals? And how often we even talk about in a group because a setting, and we'll hear stuff like, we want freedom. We hear that quite a bit, right? And I've always said like, hey, listen, freedom might mean something different to different people because um, some people want to spend less time in the office. They want more time with their family. Some people want to work on their office instead of being in it. Some people just want to treat patients, but they don't want to manage, right? Everyone has a different dream and they define freedom a little bit differently. But I'd have to say that you're every month when I follow you, I stalk you a little bit. I'm following you on Facebook, and I see you jet setting everywhere. You're at a different island almost every month. It seems like you're on vacation all the time, and you've been able to take a lot of trips and do a lot of traveling and still have a very successful practice. And what do you attribute to that? And what would you say is giving you that ability? And what would you say is the top two or three things that have allowed you to live that way?
Rock star office manager.
Yeah,
She
that's
runs that
awesome.
practice just like like I would. People say something and she'll be like, she wouldn't like that, so no, we're not going to do it. Um,
Mhm,
just having her trained and having her to think like I think and
mhm,
communicate with me the way that we communicate together is it's just amazing just to have that type of relationship with somebody who loves your practice as much as you do and wants to see that
mhm.
success not only in the practice and themselves but also in the team. Um, and I'm very lucky that I found her. I'm very lucky that she's gone through the executive training courses and she enjoys it. She wants to go. She wants to come to Arizona. She's like, they got another one in Arizona. Can I go? So, um,
That's great.
and just even getting the team um, to some of these trainings and letting them see again being trained by somebody else other than me and Dana
Mhm.
is very important.
Yeah, I would say that I've always used to say something like that. Like if your dream isn't big enough to where you need people, it's too small, right? Like, and I think that when you start looking at having a bigger practice, you have to create a really solid team. And you've done a great job at understanding the importance of training your manager and your staff with the business academy. Like that's what I used to do as well. I had managers trained up, and that's what allowed me more freedom to travel as well. Is that my management team would run the office, and they just report to me the numbers. And so it is a freeing thing when you can go on vacation and travel, and because it wasn't like that for me in the beginning. My first 10 years of practice, I remember I would be at the office, thinking about taking a vacation. And then when I was actually on vacation, I'd only take a 3 or 4 day trip around a weekend. And then when I left, the numbers decreased, and then, when I was on vacation, I'd be thinking of the office. Like I was never present time, right? Because I was always
Right.
worried about like, hey, what's going on in the office? I can't leave. And so it is cool to see that with you. And, I'm proud that of the fact that, that training has allowed you to live that type of a life. Cause I do know like you like to travel.
Mhm.
So
I don't
you
I don't
take
have
advantage of it.
children, so yes.
Yeah, there you go. Not yet. So what would you say is maybe what's one result that in joining the Business Academy that surprised you? Something you didn't expect, that came about through being with the Business Academy?
Oh gosh, that's hard. One of the biggest things that happened was when we were in Costa Rica.
Hmm.
So went to Costa Rica, have a couple friends that live there. and right in the SAR where we went. So went down a couple of days early, and then we had our little mastermind down there. While we're at our mastermind on Friday, I get this video from my staff where we hit highest number ever without me being there. They had balloons, they had champagne, they did all that, and I said, "Well, good, I could just stay longer." So I stayed an extra week. So
That's
I
so funny.
changed my plane ticket, stayed an extra week.
That's great.
So
You know,
that's
I
the
just
only time I've done a 2-week vacation. I've done 10 days, and that's allowed me to do 10 days. And that's still a lot. A lot of
yeah,
chiropractors don't get the opportunity to do that. But that
yeah.
was 15 days.
That was a fun trip. You know, that's
It was.
something that we love doing with the group is we love going on trips where we mastermind, and I really enjoyed the area so much. I booked a trip to go back there in December, but
Nice.
further south. So I'm looking forward to that. So Robin, keep things moving here. Let me think here. How about we talk about what was something that you changed in your scheduling that gave you the capacity to see 300 visits a week? Because before joining the Business Academy, you weren't quite at those numbers. Is there anything that you changed up in your scheduling that allowed you to do that?
I guess the biggest thing is I had an associate doctor that I brought on, or that was I bought when I bought the practice. And he was a lot older than me. He graduated chiropractic school when I was 2. He's a great clinician. He was just set in his ways and was kind of closed-minded on some of the things that we were implementing and everything. And then about 5 years ago, brought on Dr. Megan, and she just came in willing and ready to do all the steps that I had in play. And that's really when our real big boom happened. 'Cause we were still chugging along and doing well and just really getting the staff trained. But when Dr. Megan came in and us not having separate patients, it was just like we would see the same patients unless they requested us specifically. So we just have our notes all in our Chiro Touch, what we did on the last visit. If we changed up anything in their treatment plan, it's there. Doctor goes in, reads it, sees what's going on, and it's like, "Hey, Joe, I see that last time Dr. Megan did this, this, and this. How did you do?" And I was like, "Okay, well, let's keep that going." And so I think our communication and even doing the communications course not only helped with communicating with your people, but also or with your patients, but also helping with your teammates. So our communication was on point, and us just being able to share that patient load, um, and one doctor not being overwhelmed with patients and everything. And then it just rolled into her becoming the main clinician. And how my office is designed, we have what we call the hot seats, and that's where somebody is waiting if the 2 adjusting areas are taken. And so if I see that there's somebody in the hot seat, then there's another person waiting. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go treat. So that just keeps our flow going. We try to keep it when it's 2 doctors, about 4 to 5 patients per 15 minutes. And if it's 2 doctor or just 1 doctor, 2 to 3 per 15 minutes. But again, we have a staff trained on documentation. So they're coming and they're documenting the one patient while we're treating the other, and then vice versa, and then pull it up. So
Yeah.
that helps with flow a lot. So that helps with time
Mhm.
management.
Yeah. Yeah. We always talk about, how do we improve our speed of particle flow, whether it's a file going through the office or a patient moving through the office. And you've done a really good job with that. Just kind of a off the top question here, like what did you stop doing that freed up the most time for you or even made the most profit for you? Like a lot of times what happens, when we first start practice, you're doing everything, right? Like you're working the front desk, you're doing, report of findings, you're treating patients, you're doing the marketing. But what's that one thing that you had someone maybe trained up to replace yourself that gave you more time back?
The org board, or like the organizing board, it's a game changer for when people go and look, especially new people. Who do I answer to? And then who do I answer to? The only person that comes to me now is Dana. Everybody else has to work their way up. And so for me, not having to micromanage people and having a, "Hey, Dr. Robin this, hey, Dr. Robin that," being interrupted when I'm in my zone, like working on something, has really increased my focus and my productivity. And again, just the stress level of having to put out other people's fires.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good. So, like, just real quickly, you've already addressed some of these questions. You're answering these as we're going, but I want to circle back a little bit to your team and what great staff you have and what's that look like in your practice. It's really, to me, a team is developed, and you've done a really good job developing your team. Whether it's sending them to TBA, to the Business Academy for training, or like you just have you're very regimented in your team training. And so you mentioned that earlier about team training. How often is your team training right now?
So in office, we're training one big train once a week, and then a smaller train on Wednesdays. We're there in their own department and watching the videos. And then we play games. We do a lot of games where we're going through it. Even if we'll have somebody that doesn't work front desk, hey, they're downtime. I want you to go observe the front desk for 30 minutes and see how they're doing. And then we'll quiz them on it to see how much they retain during that time. So it just helps to keep their minds you know, move like focused on the whole generality of the practice. But then they have their specific training as well.
That's great. Yeah.
Getting
So
getting the team, I try and get the entire team about once a year there, but throughout the year I'm bringing little particles.
yeah,
And then we do
yeah,
one big
exactly.
team training.
Yeah, but you do a good job with it. I mean, it shows in how much you've grown, and your team is growing, and you've done just an amazing job with them. And you talked about micromanaging, but like, what I'm going to go back to, like, how do you coach your team for accountability without micromanaging? You mentioned statistics. Is there anything else that you do that you're coaching them for accountability, but you don't feel like you're micromanaging?
No, again, it goes in like for our just our core values of our office. And if everybody there knows, and they do a great job on their accountability. When we see that we have a person in our office that is not just making excuses, not holding themselves accountable, then one, we will train up first, but also you got to recognize that potential trouble source, and you got to get them out. You got to get a cancer
Yeah.
out of your office.
Yeah, I've struggled with that for a long time. I used to be like, man, if I let this person go, and I knew I had to let them go, I'd be like, but then I'll have to do the work.
Right.
And so it would paralyze me a little bit. I don't know. That's how I used to be, but now I realize through the Business Academy training, I learned that keeping that person is like a cancer, right? They should leave. They're infecting other people, and the old saying goes, you hire slowly, fire quickly, right?
Right. But one of
But
the things that when I first started, and you guys were saying, oh, once you get that person that's holding you back, that might be, the sort of hostile, and you don't realize it, and then when you get them out, your stats go up. I have experienced that quite a few times at this point, and so it's really amazing to see how your team will step up. Just an incident that happened is we had a guy that was there, wasn't holding himself accountable for anything. There was always an excuse, always looking busy. He was a nice enough person, so he wasn't like rude or anything. He was nice, but you think back then, that's that covert personality, and and he wasn't doing things at all correctly, and it was just messing up our stats. It was a lot that went on, and I was getting so frustrated. And I said, Dana, I said, we just got to get him out of here. And so let him go. And then we had Dana was the only person that could run that front desk at that point. And two of our girls said that they were new. This was in January. They were just hired in November for their CAs. They didn't know how to do the front desk. They learned within 2 days how to answer the phone, what to do. Like they stepped up, they're reading the manuals, they're doing looking at the front desk course, any chance they've got, they're asking questions, they're writing stuff down. They really threw themselves in to this position when they weren't trained on it. And within a week, our stats were back up, numbers were back up. We're discovering things hidden in drawers. I know that we've talked about that before. Yeah. And things that weren't done. And I did. I stepped into the front roll desk for about 2 weeks, and I learned a lot that had
Yeah.
been kind of not changed, but just improved without me being at front. And I'm like, oh, good job. Who did this? All right, I like that. And so it threw me back in the game and then got me motivated again. So
Mhm.
things like that happen. And if you get somebody out and you have to step in for a little bit, sometimes it can even though you don't want to, like I don't want to get in there and do insurance. And even though you don't want to, you just get your knowledge back and you kind of get
Mhm.
yourself motivated again. And then you can step back away.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, so listen, we've talked about, when we get together at some of our workshops, we talk about there's three types of employees, right? Like in an organization, there's the founder, the dreamer, there's the manager or the executive, and there's the technician. And we talk about how when you're adjusting patients, you're a technician and you wear all three hats, right? You're doing all three jobs when you first start a business. And so one of the things that the Business Academy focuses in on is teaching courses on how to be an executive. We have this executive training and whatnot. So, you invested in executive training, and what would you say, what leadership skills moved the needle the most for you? There's a lot, I know.
Yes, yes. I guess mine would be nobody wants to be made wrong. So you want to praise your employees, tell them like what they're doing right, and then instead of being like, why did you do that? Because sometimes I would get just frustrated, like, what were you thinking? And now it's like you've taught me how to calm down and how to relax, how to be able to communicate. Again, it's about the communications course as well, how to be able to
Mhm.
communicate better, how to acknowledge things in a way that's going to not make them feel bad about what they did, but let them see, oh yeah, I made a
Mhm.
mistake. How can we improve that? And that's one of the things
Mhm.
that we changed in our verbiage. Instead of like during our Monday or weekly meetings, we have an area of time that goes um, areas of improvement, and we go around the room, and everybody gets to say if they have anything, an area that we can improve on. But if you have something that we need to improve on, then you come with what you feel the problem is now and how we can improve on it. So
Mhm.
again, that gets them communicating and not just saying, well, I don't like it when we do this. Okay, well, how do we want to change it? So it
Yeah.
was just learning how to communicate better with my staff, um, hold them accountable, but again, present it in a way where I wasn't putting them down.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I've shared the story before. Like, I think a lot of drivers, I think many of us who own practices were drivers, and so in my pursuit of trying to improve, I'd always look for problems, right? And I learned early on that if you acknowledge the difficulty in something, you'll have more difficulty, right? Versus if you acknowledge what you acknowledge is what you get. So create more acknowledgments. And so I remember putting a policy in my office. All right, I've got to give 5 acknowledgments before every bitch. Excuse my language. I had to like really tone it down with my staff, and it really helped me tremendously. I created a safer environment for my team by doing that, and I made it safe for them to tell me when they made a mistake. And that's, I think, a key concept in managing people. It's like you make it safe for them. It's okay to make a mistake. But it's not okay to not discuss it and not share it. So we can all learn from it, right? And you've done really well with that. So fantastic.
And this is like
Um,
just a sidebar, Dr. Gary, is that has not only helped me in my professional life, but also in my personal life. Is when you're just communicating with family, close friends, where you know that they're not going to stay mad at you long if you say something. And again, it wasn't what you're saying; it's how you're communicating it. So again, that's
yeah,
helped me in my personal life be a better communicator as well.
great. Yeah, that's awesome. Good. You know, there's a lot of different service centers we talk about at the Business Academy and different things that you can do to help and serve patients. What new service centers or what did you implement with the Business Academy, and how did you roll them out successfully?
Give me some examples on that.
Examples might be like, did you bring in like Shockwave? Did you
Oh
bring
yes,
in?
okay. So that yes, we brought in Shockwave. The neuropathy program
Mhm.
has been great, and our dry needling.
Great. Yeah. So like when you brought those services on, how did you roll them out? Like, how did you introduce it to your team and say, hey, welcome. It's Monday. We're going to add a new service. I mean, what did you do to circle the wagons and get the troops all lined up and say, hey, we're going to start helping people with this added service?
So I guess it was probably maybe like neuropathy was about a 2-week training that we did during
Hmm.
lunch. And then because we already had the shockwave and we already had the dry needling going, but just putting the whole package together and just teaching them how it's going to like how it's going to benefit the patient, like what it's doing, because somebody who's performing shockwave and if a patient says, well, what is this doing? I don't know. I just know how to do it.
Hmm.
That's not good. You want your person who is performing that service to know all about that service. So that's what we did is we just went through each area of our neuropathy program and talked about how it was affecting the nerve, how it was rebuilding the nerve, how it was decreasing discomfort. And
Hmm.
just again, just trained on it. And it's all about the training and just role playing. We'd all take
Yeah.
turns and like everybody had to feel the shock wave and everybody had to experience a little dry needling just so they
Hmm.
can explain it. Well, I had this done, and this is what I experienced.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the laser and the decompression. They want to do that, but some of the
Yeah.
things the 2 things that we offer in our office that don't feel good is shockwave and our dry needling. They don't always feel bad,
Yeah.
but you can
Yeah.
you can it's just be able to them to communicate. This is going to hurt so good. You're going to feel so
Yeah.
good afterwards.
Right. Good. Well, let's change gears here a little bit because another thing that we talk about at the Business Academy is that usually offices will struggle in one of three areas as they're trying to scale their business. One is just getting new patients. Secondly, is converting people onto care, especially if you're adding different um, programs together and you have maybe bigger care plans, larger care plans for people. And then just the organization itself, right? Those are the, how do you flow people through your organization? Um, let's maybe hit the marketing. What are some things you've learned at the Business Academy that you've implemented that's helped you to get new patients?
Uh, just the conversation on when you're doing the marketing.
Mhm.
Just like for instance, when you're at a screening and being like, well, I see you mark this, this, and this. If we could potentially help you with your neck pain, would you be interested? And sitting back and letting them answer. All right.
Yeah.
And then giving the offer and again how you teach on marketing and stuff is um go ahead and getting them scheduled in. Go ahead and getting their payment right then because that's going to assure that they're going to show up. So in order to take care of
Hmm.
this office, we'll go ahead and we'll take that payment day. That's going to reserve your spot. And then also let them know, if you are not able to come, if you need to reschedule, we'll be happy to do that. We need a 24-hour notice, or this will go as your missed appointment fee.
Hmm.
And then
Awesome.
we say that straight up front. So they're like, well, I didn't
Hmm.
show up for my appointment. I need my $47 back. Well, we discussed that this would be your missed appointment fee. So that also ensures that they get into the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Scripting is really important when you're doing marketing for sure. Let's talk a little bit about your report of findings process. Did you change that up from before being with the Business Academy to now? And what have been those changes and what's been the impact?
Okay, so one of the big things that changed, and this was coming through the IOD, is we didn't present, and this was how my old offices was ran, so that's why I started with that. Is we presented first phase of care. Here's your cost at re-exam. All right, this is going to be your next phase of care. Here's your cost. Re-exam. Here's your next phase of care. Here's your cost. When with the our report of findings, it's like here's your care plan. This is the whole 24 visits, 3 times a week for 4 weeks, 2 times a week for 4 weeks, 1 time a week for 4 weeks, which is our standard. We do, doctor that up depending on the person, but that's our standard. And um, we go right by your scripts, right by your report of findings course. And Dana will change it up depending on her vibe. But again, that comes through the communications course and reading the room and reading the person. And so she'll change it up based on that. Um, but just following that to a T, I mean, her close rate is immaculate. I think she's like at 90, 96 for the year on
Yeah, I
her
mean,
closes.
she's an
It's just,
amazing case manager. Yeah.
and she'll come out and I'll be like, "Oh, how'd you do?" She goes, "How you think I did?" So
Yeah.
like she's got her total confidence and stuff. And
Yeah.
she's definitely amazing at just getting the training in and really following the course. If you feel like something in your office, it might not work. That's again, my previous associate, Dr. Schick, was like, we can't ask these people here in Lincolnton for all this money. He's like they're not going to pay that. They don't have this money. He grew up in that town. And that's why it's a small town, and it's 22% poverty in that town. And I think the national average is 14%. And so, and I was like, well, Dr. Schick, we treat the patient, not the pocketbook. That's Dana's job. Let's just let her do it.
Yeah.
And by implementing that, we got people prepaying for all three phases of their care. When if you get somebody, most people do get better within those first 4 weeks, and you have to stress that that our first phase of care, we're working on your symptoms, we're going to get you better, and then once we get you better, we're going to start working on your structure. And so,
Yeah.
and then you go through that, antibiotic. If you come off an antibiotic because you're feeling better, what's going to happen? It could come back, and most of the time it does. And that was what was happening at that 4-week mark with doing the re-exam and then asking for more money again. You ask for money once and that's it. And that was something that was very very well valuable lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I always tell people like, I think we've all heard this before. People will say, well, that can't be done in my town. Like, I can't do that where I'm from. That people won't take. I'm just like, well, you should actually talk to Dr. Robin Owings, because if she can do it in her town that she lives in, anyone can do it. I mean, because you have some obstacles, right? You are in a lower poverty area, but you're a perfect example of thriving in an area that has a poverty issue. But at the same time, we talk about how people will pay for what they value. And I think that if you educate them properly, which you do a great job by educating your patient on what you do and why you do it, people will find the resources to do care, and you do a great job at that. So hey, listen. So, what would you say for anyone who's on here right now that's considering the Business Academy, but they're hesitant? What kind of advice would you give them?
It's simple. Nike, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. I mean, it really was. I mean, and I don't know what the cost of it is now, but whenever I joined, that was like, whoa, oh my gosh, can I afford this? And I was kind of like very, very hesitant about investing that money, and then investing the money on the courses is the best money I've ever spent, other than my food processor.
You know what the funny thing is, Robin, is I look back at educating myself on the Business Academy, just learning how to be an executive, and it's really given me the tools to be the best consultant I know, and that's myself. Like I know how to manage things better now. I know how to be a business owner, and I have the confidence in doing that from taking these courses. And I can easily say that I've always made more money on taking a course. It's always helped me to actually improve my office. Because because it's a little different, right? You're going into a training room, you're going into a classroom, and you're learning the data. Like you're taking a course. You're not going into a weekend seminar and just getting the raw stuff, right? And you're actually sitting down taking courses to where you own the skill set now, and our course supervisors actually make sure that the people who are in the course room really learn this material. That was a game changer for me, because before the Business Academy, I was with like 10 different consultants over 10 years, and they all helped me a little bit, but I never stuck with anything for a long period of time, because I'd find that after a little bit of time, I wouldn't need the data anymore. Like it wasn't serving me. I got a little bit, but that was enough. I moved on. But that was a huge thing for me, like just learning the data myself so that I could actually manage better. And the great thing is I know I can run any business, with this information. I can run any bit. It doesn't have to be in healthcare. It can be in anything, and I can run something successfully. And that's the skill set that I really learned. And now I'm a part of 8 different businesses because of that. So on that note, I know you love healthcare. I know you love chiropractic. But you have the skill set. Is there anything else? What's next for you? Is there anything else you're wanting to do? A second practice? Are you wanting to, get into another business? What do you have your eyes on?
I love chiropractic and I love my baby. So my thing is again just traveling and being able to have that the freedom. And whenever I was an associate, if I was awake, I was working. And my mom told me that
Mhm.
my job was putting holes in my soul. And when she told me that, it was like it was heartbreaking. I was like, I love my job, but I was if I was awake, I was working. And
Mhm.
um and so now just to have the freedom of I grandma sat for a week, 2 weeks ago, so that my mom could take a vacation. And I mean, and it was so much fun staying with my grandma. I would not have been able to do that um, had I been in any, in my previous job. I could barely get a week off to do anything. And once I got that week off, I was so tired. All I wanted to do was have a staycation.
Yeah.
And so it's just life has just really changed for me in that aspect. And I'm just happy with how everything is now. If I was ever to give up like chiropractic or step away from that, I would want to do something like I would want to work at PetSmart, like just something like just do something with animals on a PetSmart, or just something where I could play with animals all day. Volunteer
That's great.
at yeah, we have a rescue zoo of Charlotte, and I was like, I would love that. I would love to be able to go volunteer there. But I do a lot of that in my community because I do love volunteer work. I do love giving back. It makes me
Mhm.
feel good. And so it might be selfish that I do that because it just makes me feel good. But I'm able to
Yeah.
get involved with our with so many things within our community. But my favorite one is our outreach center for kids that they don't have, a lot of different like clothes and stuff like that. We have a shoe program, but it's called the Ashbury Center, and it's like the store for them, and it's set up like that, like a mall. And they get to go in and they get to pick out like two pair of jeans and a pair of shoes and two shirts and a jacket, and just to see their faces and stuff, it's just amazing, and that's just very rewarding for me. So that's one of the extra things that I do in my time away from the office.
Yeah. Robin, it's an inspiration. The fact that I feel like you're living life on your terms and you have your freedom to do what you want to do because you've learned the technology, you have your staff trained up, and so I think there's a lot. I mean, I don't know of any practice owner that does not want that, and you're living that, which is really really nice to see. And we're all really proud of you at the Business Academy. Um,
Thank you,
you
and
know,
I
I,
thank you guys a lot for my success. So I appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So what we're going to do is we're going to be opening up for some questions here. But before we do, I want to remind everyone who's on here that, Quentin has been helping people for a very long time. We do a practice analysis. So what this is you schedule some time, you hit that link that's in your chat box right now, and Quentin will spend some time with you going over your highs and your lows, things that you need to work on. But he's a master at knowing what areas that you need to work on next to take it to the next level. Not everyone is the same. We all have different strengths, we all have different weaknesses. Some people may need more help with new patients. Some people may need help with converting. Some of us might need help with hiring. On that note, Robin, did you ever take the hiring course?
No, but I have it. So I
You
do
have
need to
it.
take I have it.
Okay, good. You got it. Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so schedule that. You have nothing to lose. This is absolutely free. Quentin will spend that time with you to go over just anything you have currently going on, and if we're the right fit for you, fantastic. If we're not, we will point you into a good direction. But take advantage of that. It's up to 2 hours of time, I believe, Quentin. There's two sessions. The first session is just getting an idea what's going on. The second session is more solution oriented and different things that you can do. So, but make sure you click that link. And we do have and for some of you who want to actually come out and see what we are all about, we do have a workshop coming up in August in Largo, Florida. It's just outside of Tampa. Teresa, if you could put the dates of that workshop, you're more than welcome to come to that workshop and check us out. But I want to open up for questions. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Robin? Any questions? We got Mark, Nikki, Curtis, Doug. Hey, Dr. Chapman, it's great to see you. Thanks for putting your camera on. We got August 15th and 16th of that workshop. Thank you, Teresa. All right. Any questions? Hey, Doug, do you have any questions for Robin?
Hey, y'all. No, I'm just stoked to hear Dr. Robin talking about her success because we're following right behind her, and it's nice to it's motivating to see what you're doing, and what you're going through, and where
Thank
your
you.
future is going.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. We got well, Robin. you
question.
probably- yeah, Robin, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Chapman, go ahead.
It's me. So Robin, your office manager, which I think I met her at the last
Yep.
TA, right? Yeah, she's amazing. Was she with that practice or did you bring her in external?
External.
So you
She
hired
was
her.
actually, you know, Rich Berkowitz.
I don't think so.
He was who I first associated with. She worked for him. She did insurance, and when she saw that I was hiring a case manager, she came into me. She goes, "This is my dream job. This is what I want." She was like, and I didn't know her because we worked at the same place, but I didn't know her. I was already gone, but I knew the girl that's doing the case managing there. She goes, "I want Kim's job. I would be great at it. Hire me. I promise you, I won't let you down."
Okay.
I
And
said,
then
"Okay."
you moved her from case manager to office manager.
She does both right now.
Yeah. All
She's-
of mine they have one hat they're wearing as well as office manager as well.
Yeah.
I just wondered because she was great. I can
And
tell.
she kills it. She's amazing. And but again, like we think so much alike, but again, we've taken the same courses. So it was getting us trained together. We didn't usually train together. I trained before her. We've done a couple courses together, but she's gone through these same courses that I have taken and implemented. And so again, we just have the same mindset at this point because we have taken these same courses.
Got you.
Mhm.
Which ones did you put her through?
Executive fundamentals, management basics. We got the organizing one, the new organizing one. Policies and procedures, and I'm losing one. Quentin, do you know?
Managed by statistics?
Yes. Okay. Well, it wasn't called that to begin with. It was called something else, but it was the
Formulas
same
for
thing.
business success?
Or not organization, because it was a previous organization. Now we bought the new one, the one that's
The
been ran.
basic organization?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, that's a common theme. Everyone who's on here, just I want to let you know that when you take the time to train your staff up, which Dr. Robin has, you know, when you take the time to train staff, they're going to stick usually a lot longer. You know, it's a staff who's winning is going to have their morale is going to be higher, right? So when you have a staff member who's winning, they do better and they can grow within your organization. So many times in my organization, I'd hire front desk or I'd hire marketing, and they would grow into like an office manager or production manager or even an executive director, right, where they'd run the entire office. And so if you're not investing in your staff training, I really think that you're losing out on the possibility of having a practice like what Dr. Owings has, where she can travel and her team takes care of the office and it runs without her. And it really comes down to investing in your staff. And so we do have hiring courses and training courses that can help you with your team, and take advantage of that. But in any case, thanks for the question, Dr. Chapman.
And I
Any other
can tell you that Dana came on for case management, and I was training another person in office for office manager. She went through the courses as well. Ethan comes in and does my second IOD, and we just found out that that was not going to be the position for her. And Dana stepped up to the plate. She's like, I want it. I want to do it. And so you have to have that willingness. So that's the big thing, is you have to have that person that's got that willingness. And it wasn't like this other person couldn't do the job or wouldn't do a great job, but she just didn't want that job.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I said finding that willingness.
Totally makes sense. Sometimes people are more better being in a different position than what they're in, and having that skill set to recognize that can save someone and just move them into a different position, right? And so that's
Right.
it's very valuable. Yeah. So, any other questions we have for Dr. Owings? We got Kevin, Nikki, Mark. Do you guys have any questions for Dr. Owens? Don't be shy. This is your time. Even if you have a quick question for Quentin, you can throw something out there.
if Mark is on, I know, Mark, we're gonna be talking later in the week, but I know you had some interest in the organizing board and so forth. Did you have any other questions for Dr. Robin while you're here? And, you know, like I said, we'll go over that a little bit more with you in detail for your practice, but any other questions there?
Nada. Hey, if you guys
I'll
are,
ask a question, Dr. Gary. I'll
yeah,
just check
Ethan.
on something too. You know, Dr. Robin, we've worked together for many years, and you've grown substantially during that time. What was the biggest lesson you had to learn as a practice owner to go from doing it all yourself to trusting, training, and then of course managing multiple leaders in your office? Like, what was the big leap you had to take there? Because that's, I think, where a lot of small business owners struggle sometimes.
Well, and everybody's all mine. Nobody can do it as good as you. And so if I want to get it done the way I want it done, then now I'm going to need to do it. And so that was my big thing, was to let go and to watch Dana's growth and to be like, oh, she's got this. Okay, well, let me step back a little bit more. Okay, she's got this. Well, let me step back a little bit more. So it wasn't like I was like, here you go, out the door. I mean, it took time. It took me being, or her proving it to me, and she didn't like have to prove, like, I don't know, I don't think prove is the right word. Her showing me that she had the capability of learning. She wanted to learn. She implemented, and she pushed me out of the office. So she did. She'd be like, okay, you can go. I got this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the one thing you do really well, Dr. Robin, you probably already covered it earlier, but you know, when she pushes you out of the office onto vacation, you still have a whole dashboard of statistics you are able
Yes.
to review, right? She's very much held accountable to specific numbers and outcomes with her
Absolutely.
team that she has to create. And then your team members all have specific statistics. So it's one of those things I see practice owners looking at and they go, man, if I leave the office, maybe I have someone that could keep the place running, but my office crashes, right? And you have so many videos you sent us from when you're on vacation. Your team's literally taking a video of themselves telling you how they hit another personal record while you were gone.
Right. Or me, or with today's technology, you can really work from anywhere. You got WhatsApp that you don't have to go get Mexico number or anything like that. You got WhatsApp. You've got your internet. I mean, I'm in Antigua, coming off of swimming with stingrays, and Ethan's like, hey, will you get on our 3 o'clock call? I'm like, okay, I've had some juice, but okay. And vacation juice. And I got up the next morning at 5 a.m. for the 5 a.m. crew and just filmed the sunrise and was like, hey guys, I'm in Antigua. I get to be here because my office is succeeding by itself. And so and I think it was before that 3 o'clock call. And I was like, make sure you're on that call so you can see how to implement this. So I mean, I'm able to check in anywhere, and you'll be able to check in anywhere. So each night I'm checking my email. I'm looking at that end of the day report. If there's something wrong, I'm texting through WhatsApp.
It's awesome. Yeah. It's amazing. Again, Robin, you've done such a great job, and you've implemented systems, and I think you're living your best life with the travels that you want to do, and your community service to your community. Like you mentioned before, you're a giver, and you're reaping a lot of those rewards. So again, well done.
I don't know what y'all's power sources stuff, but we have Duke Energy here. And this past year, I got the Duke Energy Service Award, which was like, I had no idea that I was even up for the running. And it just meant so much to me. That's probably one of I've gotten some awards, but that was one that I was surprised and just really completely honored on it. And I wasn't able to do all this service without being able to take some time out of my practice.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I tell you what, one more reminder, click on that link in the chat box to set up your practice analysis with Quentin. Dr. Owens, thank you for being so open and tactical with your insights. For those watching, if you'd like, I'm glad that you joined us. For those, if you'd like the same playbook Dr. Owens used, leadership training systems and implementation support, again, get with Quentin to get your practice analysis. So until next week, we're here every week, next week we'll be here again. So we will see you guys all next week. Take care.
Have a good day.
Thanks.